Peace, love, knowledge, and freedom. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Just Seen podcast. And today, as you've seen from the title, we're going to be talking about decision making. And as you've seen from the subtitle, we're going to be talking about God's will. And I know reading those, it's like, how can those two things work together? And this episode is going to explain exactly why and how that happens. This episode is more so kind of like an epiphany. And it's an epiphany that won't leave. Right. It's one thing when I get thoughts and I get downloads, but then every time I thought about this, it expanded more and it just made more and more sense. Like every time I listen to gospel music, every time I heard a scripture, every time I heard everything, it just kind of like, wow, this is what it's been all of this time. And it's been hard to shake. But then in being difficult to shake, it's been impossible not to see everywhere that I've been looking. So this is one of those realization episodes for me, and just it's gonna be something that I express and I explain from the only perspective I know how, which is mine. So how this episode came about was I was I was speaking to somebody about something, and we got to talking about just I think the conversation was about a busy devil or some shit like that, and I know this person. And so the situation that they were speaking on, they were like, yeah, the devil busy right now because of what happened. I was, and in my mind, because I know the person, I'm thinking back to the exact moment of their life that I remember. You feel me? Because it wasn't that far off. Like I seen the moment that it happened. I was like, this ain't the devil, nigga. This is what you did 2 years ago. Literally, this is what you did 2 years ago, just manifesting itself. And I was like, huh. I ain't think nothing of it. I was just like, yo, all right, well, it is what it is. Then as things kept going, then another instance came up, and it was just like, yo, how come all of this shit is just some shit that you did, that you chose to do back in the day, that you gotta be paying for now? Like the things that this person was complaining about, saying that it was the devil. And I'm like, this is all you. And then it hit me. I started thinking more about, myself when I was in a religion, when I started thinking about other people that are in religions, and I'm like, wow, the deity's will is your decision making. And I always wonder what it was. Like I always ask people, I even say it myself, yo, if it's God's will, I get this done. If it's God's will, I get this done. That is the easiest utterance to absolve yourself of responsibility and accountability. However, it is also reflective of how oblivious you are to your own power. Because from personal perspective and from witnessing, every time I heard something along the lines of if it's God's will, and when I think about it, it's like when I went back, if I just replaced God's will with if it's my decision. It made a lot of sense why shit got done and shit didn't get done. And then when people be like, yo, he may not come when you want him, but he's always on time. And when I would realize that, people would finally be at the wits end of their decision, of their hope and their faith, to say, hey, I need to make a decision now. Then once they make a decision, shit happens. And they like, damn, this shit happened. Ties into procrastination as well. All of these things are, in a sense, connected. But the biggest overall arching thing is how this is connected to God's wills, because now it makes sense with the conversation, with the idea of free will. You have the free will to make whatever decision you want to make. Wow. So God's will then is your ability to make decisions, sound, rational decisions, whether you know that it's sound irrational or not. And that's when things get crazy, because this is why we have gods and devils now. I get it. And it's like, as I'm understanding things of the past, of our ancestral culture and shit, I was like, how come they were polytheistic or whatever the case may be? But why didn't they ever depend on the God? Why didn't they ever like you hear about Ra, you hear about Quetzalcoatl, you hear about all of the different indigenous gods that we had, but we never depended on them. We gave reverence to them because we understood that it was based, in my opinion, from the history that I'm studying and what I'm going to talk about now, we understood that at the end of the day, it was our decision making. And what we were paying reverence to was our ability, what fueled us to make the proper decision, which is in essence us, but which turns out to be an emanation of a divine deity. But before we dive heavy into that, be sure to follow me on Instagram _just_scene_ Be sure to check out my website at IamJustSeen.com. To all those who tip, donate, and sponsor the podcast, you are greatly appreciated. To all those who would like to tip, donate, and sponsor the podcast, you could do so by clicking the link in the description of the podcast. Not this episode, but the podcast itself. And as always, Cash App and PayPal are just fine. And so you know the vibes. That's that for this, and that's this for that. So we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna dive into decision making, God's will or the will of God, whichever one's. You already seen the title, so I'm gonna see whichever one sounds better. But when we come back, we're gonna dive into decision making, the will of God. And don't forget to visit IamJustSeen.com. There, you can get all things Just Seen. You want to add the So For Real series to your library? Visit IamJustSeen.com. You want to learn how to master the markets for serious trading and investing? Visit IamJustSeen.com. You want to get your hands on some exclusive merch like tees, hoodies, coffee mugs, hats, bags? Visit IamJustSeen.com. Are you thinking about transitioning into the plant-based lifestyle? Visit IamJustSeen.com. You ever want to just chat with Seen about anything from simple advice to mentorship? Visit IamJustSeen.com. Anything and everything that is me, you can find at IamJustSeen.com. So take a quick peek into my world to see why being just seen is nothing less but always more. Because you never really know what you need until you see it, and you will never see it unless you visit IamJustSeen.com. All right. Welcome back. And without further ado, let's go ahead and dive straight heavy into this motherfucker here. So, Pete, the conversation, like I said, it came about because the person is like, I don't like people bitching and complaining about shit. I've learned to look at life that everything that has happened to me is because of me. And I never really, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was hard to actually put words to it because a lot of people don't put words to it. But something that I've learned that a lot of people struggle with, which is almost a one-on-one, their devout faith and their ability to be accountable and responsible for their decisions, for the actions, are one-on-one. No funny shit. Like, I've seen people who, you know, gone through the ringer in a sense, but their faith is contingent upon, like, it's like, oh, because this deity ain't through it. Like, it's like when people say their deity isn't through with them yet, and they still like they're almost like to the end of the finish line. It's like, yo, when is it gonna work on you? And then it's like your deity. Now we tie in that a God is the highest conceptualization of the mind. The deity is the highest conceptualization of the mind. But one, we don't conceptualize that for ourselves. Somebody's giving it to us. Not only that, our oppressor is giving it to us. So on one half, we have a deity that we believe in from an oppressive mentality, right? The only way that we can fit into this deity structure is if we are the oppressed. Like, we don't pay too much attention to that, right? But we have to make a decision. Now, this is where it's going to get crazy, because when Kanye was like, slavery was a choice, it makes sense. Slavery was a choice. Now, life and death was a decision, right? So we don't look at the full totality of what was being spoken on that. He was like, yo, slavery is a choice. Everybody said our ancestors didn't choose. They didn't choose to be slaves. They made a decision to live or die. And if you lived, it was going to be in servitude. If you died, it wasn't. You see what I'm saying? It was going to be at your own hand. That's a decision. And when I realized like how powerful a decision is, see, some people think because they pick an option that when they pick an option, that's the same as making a decision. And that's one of the biggest illusions, brow chakra shit. That's one of the biggest illusions that they put over us. Like, because you pick an option, you made a decision. That's why you see it's, shout out to my Libra homies. But they always talk about how Libras are indecisive and shit like that. And I don't think that's the case. I think it's that Libras haven't learned to be decisive because we're in a world that doesn't teach you how to be decisive. You can't be decisive when you're constantly picking options. There's no decision making in picking options. It seems good. It seems like there is, because you get a little bit of autonomy and power, but you didn't create none of the choices presented for you. So you're picking options. You see what I'm saying? Decision making is when you're able to. Decision making extends beyond picking options, extends beyond making choices, right? A decision that you have to make is deep, because decisions are the things that propel the next steps of your life, right? You need both accountability and responsibility to make a decision. You don't need accountability and responsibility to pick an option. You see what I'm saying? Imagine you get a menu and you go to a fast food restaurant and you pick the option that's on the table and it's nasty. You feel me? You can blame everybody in the world. You can blame the host. You can blame the waiter. You can blame the cook. You can blame everybody. This shit's nasty. It's trash. I don't ever want to blah, blah, blah. But you can't do that shit when you make a decision. So what's in place when we make fucked up decisions? Gods and devils. Because overcoming a decision and fixing or rectifying a decision requires a different level of power because decisions are permanent. And I forgot what song it was. I think it's called Blunt Blowing. But Wayne got a line where he says, life is a choice and death is a decision. That's a powerful line because the beginning and the end of anything it relies on a decision, right? Some of us are the residual effects. And see, here's where it becomes a problem, why we think it's something that we didn't have control over. And this is why gods and deities and devils and all of this stuff, angels and demons are all what they are in regards to accountability and responsibility. Because as children, we internalize that. As children, we come into the decisions of our parents. We don't come into our own decisions. We come into the decisions of our parents. And the decisions of our parents stand firm because the decision is permanent, regardless of whether people are looking at how it is, whether it's good or bad. We only look at the bad decisions that we make that are permanent, but we don't pay attention to the good decisions that we make that give us permanent realities that are in a positive space. So as children, we are under the residual effects of our parents' decisions are affecting us, right? From birth on. And here's what's crazy about that is because it alluded to it in the Bible, but in a different way. And it's crazy because it always makes me wonder why they don't teach the shit the right way. But in the Bible, it talks about, or even in the Quran, whatever, in all religions, they teach you that your child becomes a quote unquote adult at the bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah area. But all it is a ritual that when you become a teenager between 12 and 13 years old, now you're now responsible for your own self. You feel what I'm saying? You now are like the decisions of your parents are no longer yours anymore. The residual effects. Now, here's why that's problematic, because the residual effects have already impacted me. Your birth and your conception was a decision of your parent. That's the only decision that you don't, that's the first decision that you do not have in this world. You see what I'm saying? But that is a decision contingent upon your connection to the other side, because they're making a decision based off your entry into this world. But that's a different conversation that we're not dwelling on. We're building on decision making right now. But the decisions of your parents, you know, now it makes sense. Now I understand deeper the sins of the father. Sins and curses and blessings have always been decisions. I've never understood it until I'm looking at it from this perspective. Every text I've read, every structure, every religious thing every tenet that I've come about is about your decision making. You feel me? And then it makes sense now when I understand spirituality, that spirit means the breath, and the actual system of spirituality is to be balanced. It is to be balanced with your decision making, right? Going further, when we look at how monotheism came about, it's like our ancestors never exhibited polytheism, and I never got that until I started studying from a different perspective. But when we're studying it from the perspective of those who oppressed us, we have to see it through that negative lens. So I'm saying that because I just seen this post where this woman was talking about she was praying that, Lord, if there's anything demonic in my life, I need you to remove it. And she said instantly she got Beyonce. It was like, damn, why would Beyonce be the first thing that's demonic in your life? Not the actual oppressive system that works well that you have to get plugged into to go to work 24 hours a day. And that's not demonic, but a singer that you made the conscious decision to listen to is demonic, because the devil wants these niggas hate their own kind. Got to be the Illuminati if a nigga shine. I don't know how we end up being the only successful people that turn into the devils, but it makes sense now. Because when you base somebody's decision making off gods and devils, when your standard of decision making, your free will, because your free will is the ultimate. Your free will is a catalyst that determines how you're going to make decisions, right? But when your free will is contingent upon doing the will of a deity, and you don't know what that deity's will is, it's basically you're now making decisions that you are not conscious of. Which means if you're not conscious of your decisions, you're no longer accountable or responsible for your decisions, which makes sense, because now when people make a decision to do some dumb shit, they say the devil is busy. But then when they make a conscious decision to do some good shit, they say, I got favor. It ain't nothing but God. Wow. It's wild when you really think about it. Like sit with everything you've ever experienced, everything you've ever been with, right? Everything that you credited to a deity, or every blame that you placed on a deity, or every credit you given to the deity, every onus that you have tied to a deity was largely your decision making. It's crazy. And I wondered why, like, one of the biggest things that people have issues with is their decision making skills. When people fail, when people lose and shit, when people give up and shit, it's not like, it's their decision making. They don't trust their decision making skills no more. Now, when you're following a deity that tells you not to lean on your own understanding, it makes it easier to not trust your own decision making skills. So people be thinking that, like, you be thinking that somebody's not thinking right, but they are. They're making the necessary decision that their deity ordains them to do, because they have free will to make this decision. Now, here's where it gets kind of crazy for me. Where it got crazy for me was where you would know that you consciously made this decision and then somehow forget that you made it. And then tell it, oh, this ain't got nothing to do with me. When I started taking accountability and shit, I ain't gonna hold you. The need, this is just for me, the need to actually believe in a deity stopped when I started taking my decisions a lot serious. Because it was a one-on-one. Because people will always tell you faith without works is dead, or they give you a lot of cliche verses that will let you know that you don't necessarily need the religion or the deity, because you are the deity, right? There's no other way around it. But somehow people will feel that they're not. They go back to regression, that they're not it, right? So their decision making skills have, like, how can you be created in the image and likeness of a deity, but you can't make the same decisions that the deity makes? You see what I'm saying? I think the biggest aspect of everything is decision making skills, and our decision. Wow, 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 wow. Our decision making is fucked up because we need permission. As oppressed people, as subjugated people, no, 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 no. As people who have been oppressed and subjugated, we now rely on permission to exact our to use our decision making. And I would always wonder why people were always like, yo, I gotta pray about it. Pray about what? You know what the fuck to do. Like, for me, I'm a person that I always understood, and I understand that the answer is in your question. Like, if you can formulate the question as to why you're asking this question, you know where the answer is. You just have to put it back together, right? So when I hear people say, I got to pray about it, you have all the details. You just need to execute. You don't need to pray about shit. You need to execute. I need permission to make a decision. Wow. And again, if y'all heard me, it's this, you can tell, like, when certain downloads come in for me, especially when it happened during the episode. So if you remember a couple episodes back, I don't remember which one, when I was talking about Bobby Brown, he was like, I don't need permission. I make my own decisions. And I was like, that's a powerful line in the affirmation. In uttering those words, it kind of opened the door for decision making, because it was like, wow, I don't need permission. Wow. Because now when you look at the levels of what it is, options, choices, and, decisions, you do need permission to make out to big options. Options are your permission. That's one of the craziest things ever. Options is when you ask for permission without uttering the words, may I have. Because it's deeper than may I have. It's, here's what you can have. And now you stay in that box because you think that's all you can have, or that's all that's for you. For example, it blows my mind, right? When we talk about, like, when people say anything that's not chicken, beef, or pork is nasty. They can't see how you can eat it. And you got to ask yourself, well, how did you come to eating the first three? You see what I'm saying? Like, how did you come to eating the first three? What makes those three things any different than a horse? What makes them different than a goat, a lamb, whatever? What makes it different other than the fact that you didn't get permission to eat the other ones? We laugh at Asian people and say, oh, they eat dogs. We don't eat dogs and everything like that. If you have permission to eat a dog, you'd eat a dog. Why? Because the available options for you is the permission that you have to make the decision that you think you're making. You're picking a choice. You're not really making a decision, right? Because the actual decision, a decision that is made, is something totally different. Because now, after the decision is made, you have to live with it. a lot of people can't live with their decisions because they always pray about things. So, and I'm not saying prayer is wrong or anything like that, but it's like you pray to a deity for clarity and then you go and act. And then if you act in the wrong way, this wasn't for me. Didn't you pray for it? That was the permission. That was the green light. So then what did you do? What did you do afterwards? Because it always blows my mind how people can say they make a decision and then the devil is busy, but then somehow it works out into, a blessing in disguise, or vice versa. This started off as a blessing and then it went to shit. At what point does it change? At what point does it change from the God to the devil? And who's the one that changes it to the God to the devil? You. How can you change experiences from the God to the devil when you want to justify whatever, and there still be a deity that has more power than you? If literally if you can change which deity is tied to a circumstance because you want to, or because the circumstance decides to change, who's really in control? Who's really this? What is the deity really other than your decision making? You feel me? But because we don't know how to, I talk about this in the Tree of Life chapter, but because we don't understand onus, we don't understand that solar plexus chakra energy, we don't understand the onus, so we think we only operate from shame and pride. So when we avoid everything that shames us, and we try to gravitate towards everything that brings us pride, but we don't realize that all of that shit is our decision making skills. Some people make a conscious decision to do shameful shit. You see what I'm saying? If we can break, if the world would break the barrier and we stop seeing the illusion that deities were, because in our go and as I'm studying the ancestral spirituality, the what we, I will always wonder why, like, how is they so thrive? How did they thrive so much? But then I'm starting to realize that, for example, we talk about Heru and they don't want us to go back to there, and it's like when you go back, this is why they don't want you to go back that far to understand it, because if you study Heru, you knew that Heru wasn't just the god with the falcon on his head. You understood what Heru represented. And these are things that I'm just stumbling across and learning now. So Heru, the word Heru actually wasn't the name of the god. Well, it's the name of the god, but what it actually means was hair, the Her, because we got to pronounce it how they pronounce. So it's not her, it's not Heru, it's Heru, right? So Her, that root meant personality. That word means personality in Kemet, right? The U always means the person. So when you have anything that ends with the letter U or the U sound, it means person or embodiment. For example, Neter is the God. Neteru is the embodiment of God, right? So the Neteru were the emanations of, Asar, Set, Heru, things like that. But then when I looked at Heru's name, Her meant personality, then the U meant the person. So it's the personality of a person. And then you have three forms of Heru. You have Heru the child, Heru the adult, and Heru the elder. The three forms of Heru. But every time you look at Heru, he's still the same age or whatever the case may be, because it states of mind. But the point that I was making with that was that when you go back to it, when we had the plethora of the pantheon of gods, Heru was the basis, because Heru meant personality, and every single god is an emanation of your personality, right? But each god is a principle, right? For example, Asar means the soul. A Set represents wisdom. Set represents the ego. Nebathet represents mortality. You see what I'm saying? Uh, Ra represents the all-encompassing or whatever the case. No. Ra doesn't. Ra represents the supreme, but Neberger represents the all-encompassing. So there's levels to what it is, but then it's like when you study the Kemetic side of it, you study the Orisha side, you study anything that has multiple gods, you realize that these gods were highest conceptualizations of the mind, and these gods were emanations of the personality. These gods were the things that helped you make decisions in life, which were reflections of yourself. So now, when we tie it to our decision making, what things fuel our decisions? Our feelings and our thoughts. We are no longer in control of our thoughts, and we damn sure don't control our feelings because we try to suppress them. So how can we make sound decisions anymore? You don't make sound decisions. You give your decision making ability to your deity, and you pray that the decision that you choose, the decision that comes to you, it comes to you the right way. Here's something that I've learned. And this, again, this is a backtracking thing that I realize that a lot of people don't trust their own decision making skills. So they'll say shit like, I don't know what happened. I don't know how that happened. I don't know. No, I'm very well of everything that I do in this life now. And I don't give credit to anything outside myself anymore. You feel what I'm saying? And I get it. Some people could say that's arrogant. That's wrong. If the deity, if my deity, whatever deity created me lives inside of me, why am I giving something credit outside of myself anyway? Again, back to the main point of how this shit is designed to suppress you. You feel what I'm saying? Your decision making skills are going to be so fucked up. One thing that I noticed that a lot of people do, especially religious people, is when we do something and we know that we did it, I don't know how I did it. I don't know but God. It sounds good, but eventually when you start saying that it's nothing but God, you no longer accept that you had the answer, which means you can no longer duplicate that process for yourself. You have to go back into the archives and pray and wait for yourself to come to the realization that you can do this, and then go do it, and then make the decision to do it. You feel what I'm saying? Two specific instances within myself was the first time I noticed it was when I was in undergrad. Well, I've been noticed it, but in undergrad, no. The first time it happened, but I'll have to register it this time, was with what I mentioned in the 200th episode. Like, everybody was like, yo, that won't nothing but God while you beat that. That won't nothing but God while you beat that. And I was like, I wasn't a criminal though. I didn't do anything wrong. Like, I don't get how y'all say there's nothing but God while I beat that. Like, it used to fuck with me a lot, but it was like, it was all of the decisions that I made. You feel me? When it really hit me that it was all of my decisions that I had made, that what kept me out of it was the lawyer who was defending me. As he's defending me and breaking me down and breaking all the shit down, it's just like, he runs over my decision making skills. Some people don't realize the things that they've done ahead of time that build up equity for themselves. See, I don't think we understand how karma really works. Karma is basically the residual of our decisions. That's why karma is neither good or bad. Karma is what it is. You feel what I'm saying? Because it is the culmination of the residual effects of our decision-making skills and the decisions that we choose to make. So with the 200th episode, a lot of people were like, that won't nothing but God. I was like, and at the time I was that too. But then I had to realize, like, my lawyer is presenting the facts and the information, it was like, yo, he held up a blank piece of paper. And he was like, this is his rap sheet. He's never been in trouble before. He's never done anything wrong. This is just a decision that he made right now. And I didn't think about what I was listening to. I was just like, I made that one decision right there. That doesn't make me a bad person. Like, how many people this is why the solar plexus chakra is what it is. How many people internalize that they are their decisions? Why would you internalize? How could you possibly internalize that you are your decisions if you had not equated your decision to something higher than you? If we were able, because when we actually take the onus of our decisions, we can look at it and say, I don't give a fuck. Fuck it. It is what it is. But when we think it's something greater than us that made that decision on our behalf through us, we can't process shit. You see what I'm saying? Case in point. So when I beat that, a lot of motherfuckers like, that one number God. No, that was the fact that I never got in trouble before. You clearly just heard him say it. Every decision that I had made up until that point of not getting in trouble, not doing the dumb shit, it gave me the equity that when this situation hit, I was able to clear myself. You feel what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? There's little things like that have to play themselves out. The second time I noticed it within myself, like I said, I was in undergrad and it was time for me to go for my forensic science interview to be inducted to the program and shit and, all of the shit. So I'm sitting in the interview. It's like 4 or 5 motherfuckers and shit. And initially I'm nervous. I'm heavily religious at this point. So I'm praying, God, give me all the words that I need to say to blah, 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 that, and the third. And I'm like, okay, if you give me all of these words to say, then, what I'm saying, I guess you got me, or whatever the case may be. So that's how I'm playing it. You feel me? Because that's how everybody is, everybody's pretty much putting that on me. That's what has been taught. You pray for the clarity, you pray for this, you pray for that, you pray for this. You pray for the permission to make the right decision. You pray for the permission to get the right necessary things to make a decision, or you just understand how the decision is made. So here's why I'm using that, because as I'm in this interview, every question they ask me, it's like, yo, I got the right answer. This is how I'm feeling. So I don't even know how I got the right answer. This is something that religion does to a lot of people, right? I'm speaking on myself that it did it to me because it did. And and did it to a lot of people that I witnessed. And I was just one of the ones that, it creates an inferiority complex in you. And it literally will put you in a space where you're telling yourself that you're not worthy for the shit that you worked for, that something has to intervene on your behalf. So in that time, I'm telling myself, I don't know how I'm going to answer this. I don't know what this is. And there, like, I started questioning my own sanity, because it was like, I even pulled back and said, my decisions don't matter no more. That's something that I've learned a lot of religious people do. They pull the gas off of their own decision making and they leave it to the wind. And then they can get mad at everything else and say, this is what this is what this is. This is me not being attentive to my shit. So I'm sitting down in this interview. Every question they asked me, I had an answer for, and it just flowed fluidly. It's like boom, 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 boom. So bam, I leave out of it. I feel good. I feel confident. I feel comfortable. So first person I called was my mom and shit. And I'm like, yeah, mom, it just felt good. It was like, I don't even know. Like, I ain't even had the answers. Like, they just started coming to me. They were just like this. And I forgot, like, yo, every question that they asked me was tied to the experience that I've had as a forensic scientist so far. The classes that I've taken, my interest, the studying, the work that I put in, what made me want to do this, my vision, my goal, my plan, all of this shit was in line with that. So all I was doing was uttering what I had already prepared for. Didn't know that that's what I was doing, right? I had already made the necessary decisions to make sure that when I was in front of these motherfuckers for the interview, I was going to pass, right? That gets scary, because when you don't know that it's you that did it. Now, again, I'm not saying if you got a deity, you got the Most High, you got whatever it is that you honor and serve, you don't, that's totally up to you. But what I'm expressing is how when we were given deities, they were given deities to fuck with our ability to make a decision. You see what I'm saying? I always wondered why, when I was a kid, I heard this growing up in church and shit. I don't even know why I even came in conversation, but niggas was like, yo, when you commit suicide, you automatically go to hell. Again, I'm hearing this as a kid, and I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna commit suicide. I don't know shit about that shit, but I heard it in church. I heard it, you automatically go to hell because you killed somebody. But it's like, you killed yourself, but still, that means you killed somebody. Now, shall not do it. You feel me? If you commit why would suicide? Why would the decision to commit suicide be a sin against a deity? Who would want to tell somebody? Like, only people that are in the most fucked up conditions who are hopeless and shit can't do, like, if you needed that person's life, you would do everything you can to keep them preventing from committing suicide. So you would make sure that it is at the top of the list for them. You feel what I'm saying? You make sure it's at the top of the list for them. So they will really put themselves through the worst kind of conditions just to say, I'm not going to hell. They will allow the decision to be made. And then now it's because I'm not making this decision anymore. This is God's will. God's will is for you to use your free will. God's will is for you to be able to make sound decisions. You see what I'm saying? Our decision making is what God's will is. Our ability to make sound decisions that affect our lives the way we're supposed to complete our purpose. But you know how many people aren't completing their purpose? Because they don't know what their purpose is. Because their purpose is, oh, my purpose is the will of God. Ask them what the will of God is. I've yet to receive the answer from anybody. Every religious person that I know who's telling me that they actively follow God's will, that if God ain't in, it's like, yo, tell me what the will is. Tell me what the instructions are that you're supposed to be following. Well, it's in the Bible. Well, so you mean to tell me all 66 books is the entire will? Something's not right, because even if you go into it, it's all still based off of your decisions. And at the end of the day, it's your decision to do or don't. So when I look at when I look at the conditions that the people are in right now, it's like, yo, this has a hold on you, and it doesn't. You're just, shit doesn't have a hold on you. It's your ability to see the decision in it. See how you are the decision in this shit. Like, I used to look at addiction as something that I had no control over. Now, some addictions are that heavy because chemically they, we know. But but every addiction began as a decision, not a choice. It began as a decision. A decision to do and a decision to continue. And I get it. A lot of people say, well, the decision is not, if anything that can transcend your decision making skills, anything that transcends your decision making skills automatically has more power than you. So we got to start with that. A lot of us love to talk about what internal power we have, but if you ain't got the power to make a decision that can transcend something, if you don't have the power to make any kind of decision, then you're powerless. You know what I mean? Like, you're very powerless. People with good jobs, people with good jobs, that's one of the greatest illusions ever, because they think they made a decision. You really think you made a decision to go work for somebody else. Nah, a decision was made for you. You picked the available option. Now, because you went down a major, because you went down a school route or whatever the case may be, now you feel like you have it's the illusion of choice. You feel me? Because I said now you can pick a job based off of this career field. Yeah, I'm gonna make you feel like you choosing. I'm gonna make you feel you didn't make a decision. You didn't make a decision. I programmed your decision along the whole way along. Now you may not think, oh, yes, they did. From the day you started watching TV, somehow you stumbled along the very thing. From the day you started watching TV, reading, going to school, whatever the case may be, something sparked that led you to the path that you're on right now. And since then, you've been following that path because your interest or whatever the case may be in that trying to take a path. Or you may have been smart at something and somebody told you, oh, you're going to be a scientist, and you believed it and you went that route. Or you're going to be this because, oh, you're this, that, and the third. How come nobody ever supports your decisions to do anything artistic? Only the things that will be what are approved by the world. That ain't God. That ain't God. That ain't Jehovah. That ain't Krishna. That ain't Buddha. That ain't Jesus. That ain't Yeshua. That ain't none of them, because you got to think about it like this. Our deities put us in this world, whatever created us. We're in this world we're in the world to master our science and give back our art. That's it. That's it. Look at anybody who's actually thriving in this world and who's actually doing something. You're beneficial, regardless of how deceptive or whatever they're doing with the means, right? At the end of the day, their purpose was to master a science and create an art with it. And because we created a world that everybody wants convenience, it becomes easy to do that. We look and complain about billionaires and shit. Billionaires made a decision to serve the world where nobody else would. Like, this is why it's like you have to look at the decision making skills when people say the greedy, the billionaires and stuff, they're greedy and shit. They're not greedy. They're rightfully rewarded. I know we don't like it. I know we don't like it because we think everything is supposed to be equal. Everything is not supposed to be equal when you have the capacity of free will to make a decision. You can't blame nobody for making decisions in their life that bettered them. You feel me? Especially when you chose to just wait on decisions to be made for you. You got to shut the fuck up, because these very people that made the decisions, they saw the people who wouldn't make decisions and they made the decisions for them. And now what do? Now you bitch and complain about how much money they have, but you won't stop feeding their systems. Think about it. I hear people all the time talking about Amazon and Bezos and shit, but you won't stop ordering shit off Amazon. In fact, not only will you not stop ordering shit off Amazon, you have Amazon Prime where you pay monthly so you can get shit quicker. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Yeah, you complaining about what you feel, but you're not speaking on what is. That's why these billionaires don't get in trouble. And that's why the poverty and the wealth gap is what it is, because of the convenience. The separation between poverty and wealth are those who want convenience and those who don't. Most wealthy people are willing to work harder. Most wealthy people are willing to work longer. Most wealthy people are willing to take the long way. Most wealthy people are willing to solidify some shit for their own decisions to say, this is what the fuck I made. Most impoverished people aren't willing to do that. Most impoverished people are comfortable with having shit done for them. Most impoverished people need to have shit done for them, and they don't realize it because they're afraid to make a decision. They don't think they're solid enough to make a decision. So poverty and wealth, the separation factor is the convenience that is created, and who wants to create the convenience, and who wants to succumb to the convenience. That's it. But it's the decision to do so. Now I get it. Well, certain things do affect your decision. It doesn't matter what affects your decision. How things affect your decision positively and negatively is still your decision to make, and your decision to figure out how to make it work in your favor. That's a problem. When we get certain information, when we get certain things, certain negative and positive things, I'm gonna keep the negative. No. Everything is here to help you make your decision. You feel me? I know a lot of people, why me? I wasn't asked to be here, whatever the case may be. That may be, whatever the case may, that may be the choice. But at the end of the day, once you're here, nobody's decisions are yours anymore. I mean, everybody's decisions are, well, your parents' decisions are yours until you're 12, biblically. You know what I'm saying? But me personally, I feel like once it registers to you that you can't rely on somebody else's decisions, you feel me? And I think that's where disappointment comes in. Like when people let us down, when people be like, that's when you start to realize I can't rely on your decisions in life. You don't make sound decisions in life. You see what I'm saying? I used to get like I used to get upset in the early days before healing and shit. Like, you know, my dad wasn't left. Like he made it like, yo, your decision making skills. Like when I think about the decisions that he makes, like we look at the one decision that somebody may have had or done that impacted us the most, not realizing that if that is the decision that impacted us the most, that what is their decision making like? That means regardless of how it is, their decision making is no good for our life. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter whether it's mother, father, brother, sister, aunt, girlfriend, cousin. It doesn't matter. When the decisions that they make start to affect us, it's not one decision, it's their decision making process. This is how they are as a person. You see what I'm saying? Any decision that they make is in alignment with this. This just so happens that this is out of alignment with you. You feel what I mean? But at the end of the day, everybody would say, "Oh well, nah, God was testing me. The devil was busy." All these, no, 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 no. The residual effects of my decision making has now caught up with me, and I don't want to admit that I did this shit. You see what I'm saying? And I'm tying it back to the forensic interview that I was saying. Like at the end of that interview, I kept telling people, "I don't know what happened. Something took over me. Nothing took over me. Nothing to cover me." It was cliche talk, and I would say that because of how things were. The right word just flowed and shit. Because when you in that shit, you want to give your devotion, you want to give your credit to your deities and everything like that. Because it's what it is. That's how you feel you're gonna get into heaven. You pay homage, you give your reverence and everything like that. And I've learned that that's not what gets you. That's not what does it. That means making sound fucking decisions with the mind and using the purpose that you're supposed to use. So in the moment, I'm sitting here telling like, nah, this ain't what it is. Like, you feel me? Now, had it have gone the other way, I would have blamed the devil, not my lack of preparation. And I would say it just ain't for me. Nah, you didn't prepare properly. Victory loves preparation. I seen that on this on the gun in this movie called The Mechanic. It said victory loves preparation. Been one of my quotes ever since. Like, victory loves preparation. Whenever I win and I feel good about the win, it's because I prepared properly. I just feel lucky when I win and I didn't prepare. But when I know I went into this motherfucker and I did everything I need to do, I don't get shocked when I win, but I am excited when I win because it's just like, yeah, I prepared for this win. You feel what I'm saying? A lot of people aren't preparing for their wins, which means their decision making skills aren't right. Tying it back into when we was kids and shit, when we started getting honorable mentions. When I was a kid, I watched the transition change. If you lost and you sucked, you went back and you trained. Now you don't have to do that shit no more. You don't have to realize that my decision making in the prior year up until field day, you feel me? Not running when we had recess, just sitting around, sitting in the slides and shit, playing in the sand. Like, I'm only saying this because I remember vividly the little white kid that was crying, the little fat kid that was crying and shit. And he just broke down and crying because he didn't win. But I remember, bro, you was never running with us. You was never out there and on the mark, you said go. You was never doing that with us. When we tried to get you in, you didn't want to. You was always playing in the sand and shit. And then now field day comes and you think you just gonna magically beat us? Fuck no. Fuck no. But your decision making skills let you, like, the elusive decision making skills of hope. Oh, just because I want this is what's gonna happen. You got to make the decision to have it. I was just telling people, like, you don't get what you want. You get what you are. You don't get what you want. You get what you are. Because how do you know what you're supposed to have? So now, a lot of people, now this right here is gonna piss a lot of people off, because if you only get what you are, then what are you? I'm gonna extend that a little bit. If you're only getting what you are and what you're getting isn't what you want, then what are you? You feel what I'm saying? I'm at a stage in my life where every decision that I make leads me into the direction of where I want to be. Like I don't wonder about my decisions. I don't wonder where this is gonna happen. When certain shit happens in my life, it's like, oh, that was supposed to happen. Why was it? I'm not shocked that certain shit is supposed to happen because my decision making skills are now on point because I pay attention to my decision making skills. Again, your decision making skills are going to be contingent upon how accountable and responsible you are for your life. Most religious people don't have to be accountable and responsible and refuse to be accountable and responsible for their life. You see what I'm saying? Little shit, yeah, they'll be accountable and responsible for little shit. Like, oh, I broke a pencil. Damn it, I broke a pencil. But big shit, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. It's something else's fault. Really? Really? One thing that I used to that I like, one of my favorite lines ever is beggars can't be choosers. Beggars can't be choosers. You don't even have the decision to actually do what you need, and you need it. Like, you can't ask for special requests, especially if you're not making the decision to do it your damn self. You kind of got to shut the fuck up. But again, we live in a world that teaches you about prayer, but doesn't teach you what prayer is. Everybody says prayer works, prayer hard, prayer hard, prayer hard, prayer hard. Prayer don't work without the right decisions. That's why they tell you faith without works is dead, and motherfuckers still get it. I'm gonna believe. What work do I gotta do? You gotta make the necessary work to make the sound decisions. Motherfuckers just do shit. Some of the work that motherfuckers do that they try to tie to faith don't even be with the faith that they talking about, and they just doing work just to stay busy. That's another part about that verse that a lot of people fuck up with. Faith without works is dead. Faith without the right works is dead. The fuck? It's motherfuckers right now that got faith that some shit's gonna work and they complete like, y'all, it's motherfuckers that really believe that. You feel me? I know y'all seen it a couple times because it's been on social media for a long time. I used to repost the shit when I was on Facebook. Motherfuckers be like, gotta open doors that gotta put you in places you're not even supposed to be in. Don't believe the hype. No, he won't. God, Allah, Jehovah, Krishna, Buddha, Jesus, Yeshua, none of them. They're not gonna put you in no place you're not qualified for. How you know? Because there's places that you are qualified for that you don't even get in. So you really think you're going to be put in a position that you're not qualified for? No, you've already made the necessary decisions that when this event, like, what do you think a resume is for, bro? People think experience is dope, you know what I'm saying, to have, but experience is the chronicles of your decision-making skills. When you really put down on paper, your experience is the chronicles of your decision-making skills. That's what your resume is. What things did you decide to do with the time that you had in certain areas? Oh, you decided to be active on your campus. Oh, you decided to write this. Oh, you decided to go help the homeless. Oh, you decided to go do this. Oh, you decided to do this. And that builds up the equity for now when we say, your decision making skills. Here's what your decision making skills are. They selfish? Are they for the, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's all the applications and shit was for. I just seen another post about fucking the pronouns and shit. Motherfuckers was like, when motherfuckers are hiring people that have their special, they already know what the fuck is up and what they dealing with. These are the motherfuckers we don't want in the office. These are motherfuckers we need to keep by themselves because these motherfuckers, the world has to tiptoe around them. You feel what I'm saying? That shit crazy. And all of that shit ties to their decision making skills. Imagine your decision making skills making you a loser in life. This is not just those people, but I'm just saying, like, victim mentality. Your decision making skills makes you a loser in life, and you still expect to win. So much so that because you don't win, you have the capacity to just complain about not winning. And then people will just say, okay, hey, you can win. Your decision making skills don't make you better. Your decision making skills suck. Now, the sad part about decision making skills and what a lot of people that decision making skills are deeper than choices. Decision making skills are deeper than options because your decision making skills create your life. Your ability to make decisions creates your life. Now, here's one of the reasons why religion is always given to people when they make the worst decisions of their life. Sometimes the best, but largely the worst decisions of their life. That's why when people go to prison, they always come out religious and all this other shit. Because if you read this book called The Battle for the Mind, the best way to change and shape the mind and to indoctrinate it with anything is during trauma. You feel what I'm saying? To know that your decision-making skills are not viable to know that you cannot make a sound decision is experienced when you make one of the worst decisions of your life. All you keep hearing is get into the markets, but do you trade or do you invest? Should you do stocks, forex, crypto, or NFTs? My personal answer is not a single one if you don't know how to read a chart. Without knowing how to read a chart, you end up giving all your money to those who do. Do you know what a candle is? Do you know the pocket of activity? Do you know the difference between market direction and market control? If you answer no at least once, you might want to learn how to read a chart first. Learning how to read a chart will let you know if you should trade or invest and if you should do stocks, forex, crypto, and or NFTs. It will also let you know if this is even for you or not. So visit IamJustSeen.com to learn how to read charts with my Mastering the Market course, ebooks, and webinars today. The world is changing. The question is, will you adapt with it? It was easy to send me back into religion after, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's all I heard. When I first got in trouble, it was pray, read, pray, read. Because you won't thinking straight. This won't you. This was the devil. Everybody told me it was the environment that I went in. It was the house that I went over to. It was the friends that I had. It was nobody said, nigga, this was the decisions you made. I was the only, and it's the ironic part of all of this shit. I was the only one saying that, y'all, I did this. Everybody was saying, nah, man, that bitch lying, fuck that bitch, this, that. All right, cool. All of that is cool. But y'all, this is the decision that I made. I got to own up to it. That was the best and the worst decision of my life, as I always tell y'all. But I had to own up to it. And that was my decision to make. I could have easily made the decision and said, you know what? Fuck it, I'm going to lie. But what would that have led me to? See, a lot of people don't understand the power of a decision because when they make decisions, they make impulsive decisions. Oh, I'm not even going to say impulsive decisions. They don't make decisions. They make reactions. They make reactions and then they adjust to those reactions down the line when they're thinking straight. I don't do that. I learned now because of that situation. I learned now to think about the decision, how it's going to affect me in the future. You feel what I'm saying? It took me damn near 9 years to get my sanity back after that shit. You know what I'm saying? So I always think about when I make this decision, what it's going to lead to. It's motherfuckers who made decisions that got them 18 years. Not in prison, but attached to a motherfucker they don't want to be with because of a decision. And it wasn't even, and when you can't be accountable for your decisions, you fucked up. Oh, this wasn't me. I knew a woman who got pregnant because she didn't want to, neither her nor the guy wanted to get up to get condoms from the other side of the room. Said, just make sure you pull out. Y'all made a decision, a sound decision. And then all of a sudden now, when it leads to this person making this decision, now getting pregnant, then having to get an abortion, now having to live with the screams of hearing a baby cry, then the sins of all this other shit of knowing that they killed a child. And that should have been like, why was that never thought of the whole, like, how is that not a possibility of happening? You feel me? That's what being the devout believer is. You don't have to think about that shit anymore. God got me. You know how much dumb shit I did because I was covered by the blood of Jesus? You know how much dumb shit motherfuckers do because they covered by the blood of Jesus, and or because of the Quran or whatever the case. You know how many motherfuckers think they covered by some shit that they not covered by? The only thing that you cover by is your sound decision making skills, and how you choose to make decisions will create the karma necessary that will. The decisions you make will create the karma necessary to dictate which God or which devil is effective in your life at that particular time. You feel what I'm saying? A lot of motherfuckers be thinking, people were already evil. People were this, that. That may be true. That may be true. But their decision making skills enhanced it. You feel me? And that's one thing you can never take away from somebody. That no matter how my decisions are playing out, they're making a positive impact in my life. There's a lot of people who follow religions who this is one of the reasons why the religious movement is what it is right now. And why so many people were leaving the church or whatever the case may be, because we didn't realize what was happening. We didn't realize that we wanted to walk away because it's a lot of accountable people that aren't being accountable. It's a lot of people that are putting, you know what I'm saying, their burdens on things that shouldn't put their burdens on. They're not solving their own problems. They're not making their own decisions. That's all it was. And they're blaming outside sources like, nah, nigga, you did this shit. Like, you feel what I'm saying? You did this shit. Like, this was literally, I watched you do it. But then you can't hold people accountable for that shit because then it's like, yo, he ain't through with me yet. It's this, and that, third. Well, let the motherfucker start. You feel me? Because to say that means that you don't know how to make good decisions. You only know how to do what you're told. That's crazy as fuck. Like people be thinking being obedient is doing what they told. Being obedient is making good decisions. No, that's making safe decisions. That's making the decisions that'll get you a seat into a place that you've never experienced before. That's scary to know. How many of us are literally holding ourselves back because we're so tied to being obedient that we don't know how to make a decision? Think about every decision that you make is not like, I remember, I don't know how long it's been, but I remember hearing it growing up. What would Jesus do? They used to always say that. I used to remember being just like take a moment to ask, what would Jesus do? You know how crazy that is? I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. You know how crazy that is to utter the words and to think, what would Jesus do in a situation where you're trying to figure something out? Because the actions of what would Jesus do? You don't know. You literally don't know. And again, I could be transparent about this because I've been on both sides. And, you know, when I was a kid, when I was growing up in this shit, when I was like, what would Jesus do? I would ask that question. What would Jesus do? Now, you have to know Jesus to know that. A lot of people think they know, oh, I know Jesus. I know these. No, you have to know him from the context you know him. Jesus, you only know him from the Bible. You have to know what he did when he was in the Bible. Go over his events and actually what would Jesus do in the situation? You don't know because there was never a situation Jesus was in like this. How can you base your decision-making skills off of something that you've never experienced before? And you never will experience? That's crazy. On paper, we know that's crazy, but somehow it's faith. Somehow we're willing to call it faith and we're willing to say it is because we don't realize that we're being manipulated and controlled. This shit, I was just talking to one of my homies and shit. I was like, yo, religion's worse than MK Ultra. And it really is because you don't like MK Ultra they have to catch you and put something like religion is I just got to start you off as a baby, homie. And not even as a baby, you can come back into it as an adult because you have to realize when your decision making skills reach a point where when you're not aware of your decision making skills, bro, you're a reckless person. You don't give a fuck. You think you can walk through that's where senses of entitlement come in because you got favor. I when people always say favor ain't fair or they got favor or whatever the case may be over their life and all that shit like that, I look at them differently. Because I have to ask if you think favor isn't fair, I hate to see what your decision making skills are like. Or I hate to see what it's like when it's time for you to make a decision. You feel me? You'll know how somebody's decision, if somebody's able to make decision making skills. It's simple. Ask them where they want to eat. I know this is crazy because like, well, that's always women. I know. And women are the most devout people. Men aren't the most devout. Women are the most devout when it comes to religion. And women are also among the most indecisive. The devout ones, anyway. It's crazy because the ones that aren't in the church, the ones that are, the Lilith spirits and everything like that, they decisive than the motherfucker. They good at making sound decisions and living with those decisions. That's another piece of it. The submissive woman, she can't live with her decisions. She don't live with her decisions. You know how many submissive women, at least they still got their kids? But you know how many women that didn't submit and it were just the wild ones, just like, yo, hey, I don't regret shit. It's almost a direct correlation. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be funny, but it's almost a direct correlation between people who are very, very devout and then in their old age is saying, all of the shit that they telling you about, that they regret, that you should have did, was all of the shit that religion teaches you to stay away from. I ain't gonna say teaches you to stay away from, but it programs your mind in a way that you feel guilty if you decide to do it. It's wild. It's wild. And imagine you in your 80s and shit, and it's like, yo, meet more people, this, that, and the third. You know why you didn't meet more people when you were younger? Because you had the perception that, that's where the devil is. Like, they teach us that the devil is in all the bad places, right? But then everything is bad. Everything that's fun for us is bad. Like, the devil is on our fun places. So we avoid a lot of fun if we can. And then because we have this mentality of, okay, if this is what it's going to be, now my decision is going to lead to something bad. Like, you know how many times people tell you to live a little just before you do some destructive shit? Why is that the case? That means somewhere in your decision making skills that you have made a connection between life and death that is completely wrong. But again, you don't have to worry about decision making skills when you have faith in the deity to fuel you, to say, hey, this is that. I'm gonna ordain this. Like, so many people I know say they pray. Like, I was watching battle rap and the shorty said she prayed that, she stabbed a motherfucker and then she prayed and she beat the case. Like, I don't know God work. I don't think God work like that, homie. I don't think God work like that. But what does work like that is your decision making skills. If you did stab this person and then when you went to court, the knife didn't have any fingerprints on it or there was no witnesses and shit like that, okay, that's not. I don't think that's God. That's the decision that you created a system, a decision that reverberated so many things. You watched out for witnesses. You watched out for certain things. You did like you can't say God bless you for that. You feel me? But then it lets you know that if that is what God bless you, then that means God is in your decision making. If the shit that you do leads to another reward, and you say that means that in that decision, God was there, or the deity, God, Allah, or all of them, which is crazy because now when I talk about negative shit, I can only say the devil. Like, nobody has a different devil. They all got different gods, but the same devil. Don't make no sense, but whatever. But then again, when it's something negative in your life, or something that bad happens and shit, it's the devil. The decision came from the devil. It's like, no, nigga, it came from you. That's why I always make mention that when you look at these cartoons, when you look at these TV shows, when you look at people that are having a self dilemma between themselves on the left shoulder and the right shoulder, there's an angel and a demon, but it's always them in the character suit. Because these are all decisions. That's it. Your higher self, your lower self, all of these things are decisions. That's crazy to know, but it's brilliant to know that life is about your decision making skills. You feel me? Now, I was talking to like little, cousins, and they asked me like, why you don't got to go to church no more? I don't need anything to make decisions for me no more. What you mean you don't need nothing to make? You don't need nothing to make decisions for you. You never did, but now that because I remember when I first got woke. Well, I've always been like this, but when I actually like, bam, yo, they been playing with us. It was like 2014, maybe 14, 15-ish, somewhere around there. This is when the anger was there. So, you know how we do in our culture. When one of the youngins get in trouble, they want to send somebody who's older to talk to them, and you need to talk to them, get them straight. Blah, 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 blah. So I don't talk, listen to them, and I'm like, yo, what's going on? Like, why you being bad at school? All right, cool. So I'm talking or whatever, and then so I'm like, yo, so what's the situation? How you gonna fix this? This is what this little motherfucker told me. I'm saying little motherfucker because they family and shit, but this little motherfucker gonna tell me, I'm just gonna pray to Jesus that he make me stop being bad. I said, nigga, you making a choice to be bad in school, bro. I know you. He's like, nah. I was like, so when you get to school, what are you doing? Nah, now you want to all. I know what it's like. I know it's that some little girls or some shit. It's your homies and shit. You doing this for attention. You doing this because it gets you something. I know. I wrote books about it. I literally put books about how the school system works and what you do. You probably the class clown or some shit. Like, yeah, I know how this shit is wired. You feel what I'm saying? I know that you're not just, but now it's easy to say, you know what? It's not me doing it. So I got to pray to Jesus that I be good. You're not praying to Jesus to be bad. You're not asking him for permission to be bad. You're just going to go do the shit. You're making a decision to do the shit. So make the decision to be good. You see what I'm saying? When my sister was told that she couldn't conceive children, and then I told her, yes, you can. You just got to make a decision to make sure your body can conceive a child. It's like, what? I put her on a plant-based lifestyle. Alkaline specifically, we put on an alkaline plant-based lifestyle, and she got pregnant. Now, All of the religious family, like, see, prayer works, prayer works. I said, yo, she was praying for a long time and didn't shit happen until she made a decision to get active and change the circumstances of her body. Don't nobody want to give me the credit for it because, I ain't Jesus, I ain't God, I ain't all of them. But I was like, I made a decision to make her make a decision that was going to allow her to be conceived, rather than saying I'm going to pray and pray and pray and pray and pray and do nothing, and do absolutely nothing. And it fucked with a lot of people. It fucked with a lot of people because all the people that kept saying prayer works and this, that, and the third, and it didn't happen. And then the motherfucker who just says, yo, here's what you have to do. Here's the decision that you're going to have to make if you're going to want to if you want to have a baby. She made the decision. She had a baby. It was like, yo, bro. Mm-hmm. 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 That's what it is. This is a decision that you're going to have to make to get this result. Life is that simple for me now. But life is also that difficult when you have a deity that you believe in without understanding. Again, I know y'all made it this far, so it's like I'm not telling y'all to not believe in your deities. I'm saying understand why a deity was given to you in the first place. For reasons like this. I never really thought about how wired deities were to decision making until now, but it's like when you think about it, everything that you think of is either God or the devil was all your decisions. Now, here's where it's fucking up, because now as a kid, you don't know that everybody's going through their own struggles. You only know the mask of people. So you only know your internal battles. So when you see everybody projecting and going off good, God is this, and the third, you don't know what traumas or trials that they going through in their life. So when they're telling you that this is this, and the third, you have to believe them. Because you don't know what decisions they're making in life. You don't know, like, when I got ran over by a car and shit, a lot of people say, well, what do you call that? That's like, hey, I guess it's a miracle. I guess it is what it is. But at the same time, I have to say that for me, I couldn't say it was a God or a devil because it happened at the same time. Both were involved at the same time. So what do I say for then? You feel me? Was it the God that saved me, or was it the God that was it the God that saved me, or was it the devil that made me run into the street? You see what I'm saying? Like, I can't be a person who has to look at only one extreme. I've now learned how to walk a duality to say, oh wow, you see what I'm saying? There's a lot of instances like that. I can't speak on how I survived that. I can't. I just know I did. Now I get it. I know a lot of people, well, cause that was nothing but God. All right, cool. And we say that. But if we say that, then I also have to say that then, like, that was some savage shit. Like, you made me run into the street. Well, no. You ran to the street because you were playing with the ball. What? I thought he protects fools and babies. I was clearly a baby. And I wasn't protected. So something ain't right. Maybe I wasn't a fool then. So if I wasn't a fool then, my decision-making skills was on point. But then my decision-making skills was on point. And I still ran out into the street and I got hit. Like, what happened? You feel me? When you can't process your decision-making skills, sometimes it fucks you up. And now you have to rely on, you have to have faith on, it was just his deity. Nothing was me. When you get to a point that nothing is ever you, nothing will ever be you, but everything is still you. That means you just walk away from situations, or you just get into shit and you don't have the wherewithal to see things through completion. It's motherfuckers right now that have, co-created to make babies, but only put the onus on one person. Like, you feel what I'm saying? The single mother or the single father. Like, if you weren't made a single parent by death, I can't have sympathy for the struggles that you have because you made a decision to fuck with this person. I didn't know this person was going to be like that. I didn't know this person was like, why the fuck you have a baby with a motherfucker you didn't know? And I get it. People say, well, people perform, people change and everything like that. Yo, but you made a decision to fuck with this person still nonetheless. You knew you felt uneasy about this person. You knew that you didn't trust your own decision making. That's what gets me. People will tell you that their intuition, they went against their intuition. Only way you're going to go against your intuition is if you don't trust your decision making skills. When a human can go against their intuition, that means they do not trust their own decision-making skills, which means that either their decision-making skills are gone or they belong to something else. When you can literally do some shit that has nothing to do with shit and then blame something else for it and not yourself. Why did you do that? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Because we get so tied up when we're kids that when we make a decision, it's so shunned, it's so frowned upon and everything like that. We start to say, I don't know. I don't know if y'all remember the episode that I was talking about with the little young lady. She had worms in her pocket and she could hear her mama talking. She, why you got worms in your pocket? She said, I don't know. I like worms. And she was like, what? But I don't know. You know how many times somebody asked you a question when you was a kid that was based off of your decision, and the way in which they asked you made you second guess your decision? Like, I don't know. Why would you want to do that? Why would you 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 do, like, when you start hearing certain shit like that? I don't know. I don't know. But what you don't realize is in these moments, you're actually learning to second guess your decision making. And you're now getting to a point where you're doing shit and you don't know why you do it. You feel what I'm saying? I reached a point in my life now where I don't do shit without a reason behind it. So when people say, why would you want to do this? I can give you a reason why now, but now you have to answer me why not. Because I know what decision I'm about to make. I know what decisions I have made up until this point. So you asking me why I want to do something should be irrelevant if you understood my decisions. But you don't. So gotta shut the fuck up. But when people be like, yo, why would you want to do this? How can you do this? How can you do this? I know how. I know why. Now, when I'm showing you why, now, this is when you get to the difference between me showing you what has to be done in the execution and you believing what needs to be done. This is something that I had to come to terms with in transitioning. Like, this is something that I realized a lot of devout people, a lot of believers, they'll never be successful as entrepreneurs because of the belief that they don't have the wherewithal to operate off of understanding metrics, right? Your metrics for life are based off your decision-making skills. You feel me? Your track record, the decisions that you make, like the outcomes of the decision that you make build your confidence as a person. They build your wherewithal as a person. They build everything as a person, your esteem and everything. Something that they don't talk about when they talk about narcissistic and humble people, right? Humble people don't make good decisions. Humble people don't make good decisions, right? Most times. So in those situations when they're not making a good decision, they're making decisions that will humiliate them. Lead to the humility. Oh, I got embarrassed. I got humble. Narcissistic people don't make decisions like that. And you wonder why narcissistic people think so grandiose about themselves and everything like that. Because, bitch, I've been making good decisions all my motherfucking life. You feel me? Now, I don't have to take it beyond to where the negative side of narcissism comes in, but don't nobody give it, like, everybody wants a positive narcissist, but nobody wants the negative, the full totality of what a narcissist brings. You see what I'm saying? Because people want narcissistic people to be humble. Because so many people are used to being humble. You know what I'm saying? And it's like your humility somebody can only make you be humble at what you do when you know you don't do it right. I'm gonna say that one more time. Somebody can only make you be humble at what you do when you know you don't do it right. If somebody told Kobe Bryant in his prime, don't shoot like that, everybody would look at the person like they crazy. It's like, nigga, you're telling Kobe not to shoot like that? Shut the fuck up. Average Joe Smo switches the shot every other flick. When you tell him don't shoot like that, it's easy. You feel me? It's easy. It makes sense. You know why? Because this person has made a certain decision. Kobe made a decision to shoot the way he does. To shoot in such a way that the ball is going to go in. This person is just making an option or picking a choice or whatever. You feel me? But your decisions will determine whether you're going to be humble and practice humility, or you're going to be viewed as a narcissist. Whether you're a narcissistic person or not is irrelevant, but it doesn't matter, because if you're among a lot of motherfuckers who are humble due to their decision-making skills that are fucked up, and you're not, that's where the decision comes in. I get called arrogant, I get called cocky, I get called rude all the time because I'm like, yo, my decision-making skills are better than y'all's. You feel me? When I tell people, yo, I'm going to get this done, don't be so, I'm telling you what my decision-making skills do. Like, it's not my fault that you don't know how to analyze and deconstruct your decision-making skills, how to pay attention to the metrics of the decision-making skills you make. outcomes of your decision making skills. You see what I'm saying? Motherfuckers do shit just to do shit. Like, I've had people say, I want to apply for the job. Why? Because I'm going to make more money. Okay. It's not a good decision, but okay. What you mean it's more money? All right, nigga. More money, more problems. You know why there's more money, more problems? Because there's no intention. More money comes with more problems where there's no intention for more money. You know how you have to have intention with more money? You have to make decisions with the previous money that you had. So the money that you get makes sense. Back to the billionaire thing. Why don't the billionaires get cuz? They don't have the problems that you had because they created the more money without creating the problems. You know why? Because they made a decision to solve a problem that you motherfuckers wouldn't solve, or to handle something that you motherfuckers would, to provide a convenience that you motherfuckers needed. They made the decision to do that. And now people are like, well, how come these millionaires and billionaires don't get blessed? Like, why is God like, why is he like that? They're going to have, no, they're not. Because it's all, this is where you have to start to understand that this is all perspective. This is all relative. And this is all based off of your decisions. We're all a nation under God, the United States. I'm not going to talk about others. I'm just going to speak specifically on the United States. I even talked about this in the Entrepreneurs episode in a way too, with the Republicans understanding that this is a corporation, Democrats understanding this is a country. You know what I'm saying? We're all a nation under God, right? The rich people keep getting blessed. The poor people keep getting cursed for some reason. Why? Because they're all making their respective decisions to keep them where they are. Poverty, middle class, and wealthy classes of people are where they are because of their decisions. Not because of their hopes, not because of their dreams, not because of their aspirations, not because of their beliefs. The people that are running the game understand how important belief is to people. So I got to make you believe in what I do. You feel what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I'm going to show you that it's not what you think it is, homie. And it's never going to be what you think it is. Because it's all based off your decision-making skills. So now when I tell you that the highest conceptualization of a God is the highest conceptualization of mind, now it makes a lot more sense. Now it makes a lot more sense when you tie it to your decision-making skills, because the highest conceptualization of the mind is only supposed to make sound decisions for you. What do you really believe in? Like, what can you really be serving in if you praying for it to give you clarity on shit, and the clarity that it gives you is a fucked up decision? That's crazy. It doesn't give you any sound clarity. Like, that's why I've been telling people, you got to know the difference between reassurance and advice and shit like that. Like, how can you pray, serve, and move in alignment with the deity, and every decision that it tells you to do, it makes it worse. Then now you blame yourself. I didn't have to do that. Why? You were told to. Again, I keep a recordation of a lot of shit. I keep in mind when people tell me that this was a blessing, this was nothing but God, and then when it goes bad 2-3 months later, whatever the case may be, it's like, no, you fucking up with you're fucking your blessing up. You're not making the right decisions with your blessing. That's crazy. That's crazy because you're not making the right decision-making skills, because the decision-making skills that you're making, they're not built right, because you don't think you're not accountable and responsible for your actions. Therefore, you cannot be on point. You cannot have sound decision-making skills, because now your decision-making skills can be all over the place. I could do this one day. I could do this the next day. I can care about this. I can care about that. You know what I'm saying? It's never a consistent flow of, yo, this is what needs to be done every single day. Life is a choice and death is a decision. It's a decision, bruh, sis, all y'all. God's will is your ability to decide on things for your life. Positively or negatively doesn't matter, because it's what you do with that situation. Like like I tell people all the time, I'm light and dark. I take the walk. I cake the walk. Easy to me, right? Sorry, I got tired, just like that. But yeah. So I tell people all the time, I'm light and dark. Like, you got to walk that balance and shit, but you got to be willing to, like, the freedom part of peace, love, knowledge, and freedom is the capacity to make sound decisions and live with the consequences of them. That's what it is to have solid decision-making skills, right? When you don't, You have to pray that if I fucked up this, deities don't clean up messes. Contrary to popular belief, deities do not clean up messes. You've never seen any deity clean up a mess, regardless of what you may have read in your books or whatever the case may be. They never cleaned up any messes. All they do is provide you with another opportunity to fix your shit. Think about it. Pray for peace and watch how your world gets chaotic. So you can have the opportunity to make the decision to bring peace back into the chaos. That's why I say control. You feel what I'm saying? Your deities don't give you nothing but the opportunity to make a decision. Now, what you do with that decision is totally up to you. You see what I'm saying? That's where the accountability and responsibility has to come in. We don't want that part. Because he said, well, you brought, as the people say, if he brought you to it, he'll bring you through it. How the fuck did he bring you to it? Like, you don't just get to the problem. Like, the problems don't just pop up in your life. Series of decisions led to this problem. So again, if he's going to bring you to it, and he's going to, like, at the end of the day, what is bringing you to this situation? Because we never want to take accountability and responsibility to say, hey, I did X, Y, Z, and now I'm back at A again. Uh-oh, I didn't do this. That was this person. That was this person. That was this person. You feel me? Your decision-making skills. Like, you feel what I'm saying? Now, I can hold you accountable for the shit that happens because of the decision that I made to fuck with you, but I can't be mad at you. I really can't be mad at you. And you know why I can't be mad at you? Because of the decision that I made to make this shit happen. You feel me? I look at the relationships that I've been in. I look at shit like that. And like, when shit went sour, when I fucked up, and it was the decision to do so. You feel me? Not only that, the decision like to continue relationships longer than they were supposed to. These are all decisions. This ain't no deity. This ain't y'all. You're praying for the clarity to make a decision. At the core, you're praying for the clarity to make a decision you're afraid to make. I'm not afraid to make decisions in my life anymore because I understand that if I am not in control of this decision, it can fuck my life up forever. You feel me? That's why people scare me when they say shit like, especially women, when they be like, I just want to see where it goes. If you just want to see where it goes, you do not have intentional decision-making skills. Because I'm trying to get it to this particular point, which means I'm going to make a series of decisions to make sure we get to that point. But when you just want to see where it goes, nigga, I've been there before. Where I've been intentionally making decisions to do certain shit, and this person's just flowing along, seeing where it's going. You see what I'm saying? But now imagine you believing in some shit that, God brought us together. How many people did God bring together that ended up in divorce? Well, God brought us together, but it wasn't supposed to make us last. What was the purpose of the wedding then? That was a divine union. You guys were married as one, supposed for richer or poor, better or worse. That was the whole vow. What you mean he didn't bring you together forever? Now you realize it's your decision-making skills. And you realize the reason why it didn't work had nothing to do with any outside forces other than you and the other motherfucking relationship and the decisions you two were or were not making together. Or the decisions you were making against each other without even knowing it. This is why I was talking about how relationships work. When we look at how these relationships are playing out, everybody's relationship is going to fail because you're trying to compete in a world when you're supposed to be collaborating. Relationships are meant to be collaborative. You're not supposed to be competing in relationships or even have a competitive nature in there. But we come through in these relationships, may the best man win, may the best woman win. And we're making decisions according to that. Think about it. Women are now getting into the game, but they stupid for it. But, they stupid for it because they don't know how to play the game right. And here's what I mean by that. Women are getting into the game, may the best man win. I'm dating all of y'all. You think you are. Because now, as men, we're the better competitors because we already been in this game for a long time. So the man who's performing the best, the man who's performing the best is the one that you think you won with, but you didn't. Because now your decision-making is not based off of how fruitful you can be with this person is which one of these motherfuckers competed the best. See, y'all be trying to be us and shit for so much, y'all don't realize what the fuck it is with us sometimes. We don't pick women according to, may the best. Like when we have teams of women and shit like that, we see the best competitor as opposed to submission. You see what I'm saying? Y'all are seeing who's the best competitor as opposed to a leader, but you have to realize your decision making skills. As a man, I can always make a woman more submissive to me, but can you, as a woman, make a man better? Can you make him the worthier proponent every time? No, he has to already be that for you. So now your decision for our decision for lifelong relationships is may the best person win. It's who the best person is to win. So now what happens when that person is no longer the best and you find somebody better? That means you're going on to the next one because you don't have an intention. You don't have the solid decision-making skills to have a good relationship. Mm, 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 mm. You just have the faith that a relationship is going to go in your favor because you want a good one. You do not have the sound decision-making skills to make a good relationship. You feel me? I had to learn this the hard way. Like the relationships that I was in, the women didn't have good decision-making skills. You feel me? I didn't have good decision-making skills at the time. But when I took relationships seriously, I made a solid decision to be with this one person. So I took that shit seriously. But you feel me? When they don't have that mentality, this man has to prove to me. You got to show me that I can actually, like, you feel me? We already have the decision to already be devoted to this person before she has the decision to be committed, to even like us back. You see what I'm saying? Because we're basing this shit off of a competitive motherfucking world, which is stupid. It's stupid as fuck. It's dumb as fuck. How are you going to be in a competitive world and want shit to last forever? It ain't going to work. But it's really not going to work if your decision-making skills are not on point. And if your decision-making skills are you basing this, everything is, nothing is me. It's all a deity. That's why y'all hear me say it all the time. They were like, yo, the devil is busy. Who gave him work? Who put the nigga on the payroll? Nigga, this your job. Like, this is your company. Your life is your business. It's your company. So when the devil is busy, who hired him? Now, if you didn't hire him and God did, now you got bigger issues to worry about. You know what I'm saying? Isaiah 54, 16 and 17, where he creates the destroyer to work havoc in your life, but he can only do what he allows. So no weapon forged against you shall prosper. Little shit like that. But then again, when you perceive shit like that, you realize that decision making ain't got shit to do with you. You feel me? It's not until you actually look at your life, your current life right now is just the sum of your decisions, the sum of every decision you made. It's not the absence of the presence of a deity. It's the sum of your decisions. Now, you've been led to believe that you have to follow this religion. You have to follow all of these things to absolve yourself of that. But nobody's ever told you just start making better decisions. They teach you can't make better decisions. So you just have to believe in this deity and hope that at the end of the day, you've done enough fucked up decisions that can be forgiven. No. How about I just don't make fucked up decisions? And how do I not make fucked up decisions? By being attentive and intentional with the decisions that I'm making. Stop accusing this deity ain't done with me yet, or this deity is busy. Nah, I chose to do some stupid shit. This ain't got nothing to do with no deities and none of that shit like that. Like, you feel what I'm saying? I remember how everybody was saying, like, I was like, no, y'all, I fucked her. Like, I fucked her. Like, after 200 episodes, everybody was like, damn, bro, she set you up. She played me. Not. No, it was a mutual thing. She didn't coerce me. She didn't try to know. It was none of that. Like, we went into the room together. And this was the event that happened. And I was like, y'all, like, I made the decision. I'm going to own up to it. Yo, nah, bro, you don't need to tell her. I had already admitted to the shit. I already told it because I was like, yo, I owned up to it. It was a decision that I made. When I say that was the best and worst experience in my life, it was the best and worst experience in my life. Worst experience in my life because of what it did to me. Best experience because of what it taught me. I became a far more accountable person and responsible person in my life. But then I became attentive with my decisions. When I realized how powerful your decisions are, bruh, your decisions can make or break you. And when you not even in the conscious choice to make a decision, or somebody can coerce you, peer pressure, all that peer pressure, none of that shit don't work with me. When you reach a point where the highest form of your decision making skills is challenged, no, because all peer pressure is the violation of your what you call it anyway. I don't know how I just joked. Your decision making skills anyway. That's all peer pressure is. To make you realize that your decision that you're trying to make ain't like, oh, you're not gonna be cool if you don't do this and shit. Nah, I've already experienced extreme levels of what the fuck happens when I violate my decision making skills. Fuck you and your decision, homie. You ain't never been through shit. You ain't never seen them walls close. You ain't never been on the other side of that shit. You see what I'm saying? I've seen it. So I know what the fuck happens when your decision making skills can be off. You see what I'm saying? So now I'm extra intentional on the shit that I decide to do. And I only decide on shit that's going to work in my favor. I use this and I wrap it up. I had a homie. Well, he ain't a homie no more. It was my sister's ex-husband. So we used to always play video games. I only beat him in Dragon Ball Z. I couldn't beat him in shit else. I knew I couldn't beat him in shit else because I didn't play anything else. But I only played him in Dragon Ball Z. Stupid motherfucker didn't get it. I used to dust his ass off. I'm only going to play you when I'm going to win. That's my decision. I'm not a loser. So the thing about a loser shit, what people don't understand about losers and winners is that when you are a victor, when you're a real winner, when you know how to win, you don't put yourself in losing situations. That's a reality. People, when I tell people I will not lose, I get why Jay used to say it when he said it when him and Nas was battling shit. He was like, I will not lose. I used to think that was an arrogant statement, but I don't anymore because I understand that it's a decision-making statement and it's a statement based off my ability. I'm not going to put myself in a situation where I'm going to lose. Wow. I'm going to make the decision to put myself in winning situations. I get it. I can't put myself in situations of winning situations where I have to believe that a deity has to put me in a situation. I don't know if this situation I'm going into is going to be the good deity or the bad deity. And I will never know because the situations change over time. But when I go in and I say, this is my own decision making and I'm going to make this decision, I'm going to make it. So I used to whoop his ass in Dragon Ball Z all the time. And then he'd be like, let's play UFC. Nope. Let's play Madden. Nope. Let's play 2K. Nope. Let's play Dragon Ball Z. All right. Why you only want to play this? Because it's the only game I'm gonna beat you in, stupid. That's how winners win. A winner, see this. That's the arrogance of people. A true winner is not gonna play you in the game they're gonna lose in, or the game that they're not fundamentally sound on. Right? That's an arrogant motherfucker who feels that I can do anything. You probably can do anything, but at the same time, have you put enough work with this? Have you made enough sound decisions in this to be right every time? Or to have the confidence that if I am wrong, I'm comfortable with being wrong because I know how good I am. Most motherfuckers don't do that because most motherfuckers have faith. Most motherfuckers believe in shit. And most motherfuckers hold a reality that if I just believe that my decisions will be ordained for me, that's what free will is. Nobody wants to talk about that part. Free will, they think free will is just doing whatever the fuck you want to do. No, free will is the ability to make a decision that a lot of motherfuckers don't have the capacity or power or wherewithal to be able to make. And don't forget to check out Cafe Clothing, formerly Just Scenes merch. Get all of your intricate designs crafted specifically for the melanated being to develop a positive imagery within self and to have a little bit of fun in the process. From the peace, love, knowledge, and freedom to the dead horses and water designs, all of the styles are crafted for the imagery to make you feel as you're supposed to feel. Because as I always say, the best way to fit in is to stand out. And what better way to stand out than with your exclusive styles from Cafe Clothing. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and end it there. Yeah, that's decision making, homie. I'm learning that that's really what's hindering a lot of motherfuckers here, and that's what even in America, in the world, that's what I'm learning is how they got us trapped. They gave us a conceptualization of God. Now I understand the council and I see it so beautifully now. The shit was never about, you know what I'm saying, controlling the world in the sense of making them believe in a religion. The religion is the byproduct, but we make them believe in a religion. They'll give up their ability. They'll give up their decision-making skills. Once your decision-making skills are gone, oppression is easy. Once I can take a culture's ability to decide on some shit, I can control these niggas, bro. Or if I can make them decide on what I want them to decide on, I can control them forever. You see what I'm saying? That's why it'd be crazy. Like, it'd be amazing when I hear black people, even to this day, like black people still tied to the religion and don't understand it. I'm like, yo, bro, you didn't make that decision. How long you been a Christian? All my life. How long have black people been Christians? Oh, wait, what? I thought we was born. No, we wasn't. We wasn't. How long we been? No, we wasn't. We wasn't. There's a direct correlation between every religion that we follow today came from an enslavement. That's why there's only 3 religions. But these religions say, no, we're going to take away your decision-making skills. You feel me? We're going to take away your decision-making skills. Now, it ties into how, that's why mostly impoverished people are heavily religious. And most of the people who are heavily wealthy don't subscribe to a religion. Now, how does this work? Because now what it does is it's going to tell you that the wealthy people are evil, they're demonic, they're devil worshippers, they're all kinds of shit. Now, some of these niggas is doing the shit. Don't get me wrong. Adrenochrome, that's some real shit. Like they really do be drinking babies and all that. Like there's levels to the shit. Every wealthy motherfucker ain't that though. But every wealthy motherfucker has reached a point where, because the thing about obtaining wealth, health is wealth. We know that, right? Which means mental health is also wealth too. And a lot of things about mental health and spiritual health that people don't really get is that how can you have good mental health if something controls how you think? How can you have good spiritual health if something controls your relationship with your deity? You never made the decision to, most of us have never actually made the decision towards our mental health. None of us have made our decision towards our spiritual health. Those 2 decisions were made for us. And we've never made a decision since. We've always asked for permission. We've always operated under permission. So imagine how many people say, it just ain't for me because they prayed on some shit that they didn't have to pray on. They just had to act on. There's nothing for you to pray on. Just do. You feel what I'm saying? And a lot of us can't. But a lot of us don't, because this is what it was supposed to be. Poverty is only what it is because you have the people that won't make decisions. Most people that are impoverished do not make sound decisions. It's not that they can't. It's not that they won't. They just don't. Because of what they believe. When you believe that your conditions are supposed to be what they are, you don't have a reason to make any decision outside of that context. That's why lexicons are what they are. This is why the media is what it is. Why music and entertainment are what they are. Because it's like, yo, when you decide what you are, you stay there. When you decide what you want to be, you stay there. When I was young, I used to want to be a hood nigga. I used to want to be a real nigga because, again, respect is to men what love is to women. What we get is respect for men. That's what it was. So I made a decision to be that. I made a decision to want to fight motherfuckers. I made these decisions, but then now you make these decisions, but you don't want to live in the consequences. That was one of the most shocking things ever, because it's like when I first got arrested and I went to jail, they was expecting me to cry, break and shit like that. And everything is like, I maintained my same composure. I didn't turn into a kid after that shit, because for me, I wasn't out here acting like I was just doing shit. I was well aware of the consequences that I was doing, the decisions that I was doing. So I was well aware of the consequences. And when the consequences came, all I could think about was my decisions. Everybody was like, the devil was tempting you to do. No, there was no devils. There was no angels. Nothing was present but me. And I made a choice. And I made a decision. I'm not even going to say a choice. I made a decision to do something. And I went through with it. When I looked at every aspect of my life, I stopped. Every failure, every moment that I made, I looked, damn, bro, that was a decision. That wasn't God. That wasn't the devil. That wasn't God trying to humble you. That wasn't none of that shit. No, that was a decision that you made because you was careless. And it led to you being humbled. But that wasn't God doing it. That was your own fucked up decision making. That was a dumb move. Stupid move. Case in point. Like motherfuckers was like, yeah, that was motherfuckers gonna say it was a devil when my homeboy got guns pulled on us because he ran up to somebody with, no, he made a decision to run up on a nigga and say, yo, tell your mans when I see him, this is what it is. And he had a BB gun. He made the decision to do that shit. A decision that led to other consequences. Those consequences led to people circling around the block looking for us to kill us. You see what I'm saying? That decision, that wasn't no devil. That wasn't no, that was a human interaction in which a human made a conscious choice that affected 2 other motherfuckers. That's another thing we don't think about when it comes to our decisions. You know why? Because we don't have to. As long as we put our decisions on another deity, it's like, oh, well, you got to take that up with God, homie. Some of y'all have probably said that. I know I said that shit when motherfucker, some shit that I've done to a motherfucker, like, you got to take that up with God, homie. That ain't got shit to do with me. Like, motherfuckers be like, yo, your feelings, how you feel. It's like, no, my decisions affected you. You know what I'm saying? I can't let somebody deal with my shit alone. If some shit that I did affected you, you shouldn't have to deal with that alone. Now, if you weren't supposed to be in a space and you got affected, that's not my fault. But if I'm supposed to be fucking with you and my decision affected you and I'm letting you deal with it alone, we got a problem. We got a problem. But that's what we're conditioned to. And this is another reason why we don't take our decision-making skills seriously. You feel me? Motherfuckers will apologize that I'm apologize. They'll say, I apologize. They won't apologize for what they did because their decision-making is not in their hands. It belongs to something else. So it's like, yo, they won't say, I apologize for this decision affecting you. They'll say, I apologize that my decision affected you. Or I apologize if what I did hurt you, whatever the case may be. They can't feel sorry for it because there's no connection to the decision. Because they don't think it's theirs. They don't think they made the decision. You see what I'm saying? Parents that say, well, I did the best that I could. Did you? Okay, cool. You may have. But at the same time, it's like your decisions are the reason why I'm here. But then when you don't want to own that because it belongs to a deity, now that makes me realize that now puts me through life. Well, who the fuck cares about the big shit that I do that affects people? When I do shit that wrongs people, I don't give a fuck, bitch. Like that don't matter to me because that wasn't my decision. That wasn't my decision to do. Something bigger than me said, let that happen. This ain't my fault. You feel me? So we're not able to truly utilize the power of decision making because of what we give it to. We don't even think it belongs to us. You don't even think it belongs to you. And now it's so many relationships that can't be mended. So many people this is one of the reasons why I think in our culture, in the Black culture, why we just start talking to each other. We don't apologize. We don't do shit because we don't really feel like any of the decisions that we make are ours. That's scary to know. You feel me? And why when we do apologize, yo, I'm sorry if you were hurt by this, that, and the third, and then we'll project and say, oh, but what about me? What about my situation? It don't matter, yo. Your specific decision that we talking about right now is what affected me. I'm not even the catalyst for the decision that you bitching about right now. I'm not even the catalyst for whatever came out of the decision that you bitching about right now. But now I got to own that shit. And this is why our cycles keep going on and on, because now we have our children that have to break the cycles that we refuse to acknowledge and we refuse to break. You feel me? Oh, I grew up in the shit, so fuck it. Nobody had the sympathy for me. Nobody decided to do anything for me, so I'm not going to make a decision to do anything for anybody else. I'm going to leave it in God's hands like everybody else did. A lot of people don't realize a lot of the shit that we do, a lot of shit that we are is just a tit for tat thing. Nobody did it for me, so I ain't doing it for nobody else. It's a victim's mentality. It's a villain's mentality. And a lot of people don't think that. We maintain these mentalities because of the belief of the deity that we are, and we don't equate anything to our own decision-making skills. You feel what I'm saying? The biggest example of people that teach me that are street niggas that I used to grow up with. All of my homies that went to jail and everything like that, they all say the same shit when they were trying to get their life back in order. Man, I'm still paying for some shit I did when I was a kid. My decision-making skills. It won't no deity. It won't none of that shit. The decisions that I made when I was a kid still affect me now. And like I said, I feel personally that's why they gave us deities. I don't feel personally like I don't feel shit. Like from the counseling I see it, that was the purpose of it. But now I'm understanding the core of it too. If we can make a human not have it, if we can make a human give up their decision-making skills, we can take their decision-making skills and use it to our favor. If I can make you believe that your decisions aren't your decisions, they belong to a higher power, they would or any good decision you make is not yours. Any bad decision you make is not yours. It belongs to something else. That means you don't think about shit. which means you're not intentional about shit you do, which means you now are just an avatar walking through life and I can control you. Now I can sit you down in front of a TV and I can fill you with a whole bunch of images. I can create the nation of images that create the imagination that filter your decisions. And you still don't know how to make a decision. So you just think you act the shit. Sound decision making skills would determine the difference between being proactive and reactive. A reactionary motherfucker has no good. When we look at how we get stirred up in a frenzy and shit, this is why, like, when the woke movement happened and everything, when we was all organizing and unifying and doing shit like that, you had to pay attention to the people that got the most frantic when somebody died. Those people did not have good decision making skills. They felt powerless to some shit. They didn't know how to move on to the next phase. They knew what they were doing. You got to realize this shit going forward. If you want a healthy relationship with people, you want collaborative relationship with people, you got to pay attention to their decision-making skills. Not only their decision-making skills, what do they do after the decision has been made? How do they clean it up? Oh, well, whatever. You don't even have to see their decision-making skills. Listen to their conversations. When they wrong about some shit or when some information is not right, oh, well, whatever then. When people shut down, their decision-making skills are fucked up. You feel me? Because you don't even have enough. You didn't even have enough decision. Your decision making skills wasn't even enough to actually learn what it is that you're talking about. So now that you're actually talking to somebody who knows what they're talking about, all you can do is shut down because it makes you look stupid. Because your deity didn't give you the connecting pieces that you thought you were supposed to get. Just gave you enough to have a conversation, not to make a decision with it. Now you're having conversations. It's theorists having conversations with decision makers. You feel me? This is why I no longer get upset when people laugh at the shit, the statements that I make about some shit I know that they don't understand. I made a decision to go learn something deeper than beyond what you're learning. You didn't make that decision. I made a decision to go learn something deeper than what we're talking about right now. And you're only making the decision to laugh at what you don't understand. Who's the joke really on? But we don't look at it like that because all of this, tying it back into the nutshell, we connect our decision-making skills to our deities. So any decision we make, good or bad, is not our decision. It's the will of a deity. So we literally out here just randomly doing shit. Motherfuckers is really fucking raw. Making the decision to fucking raw with the hope that God ain't gonna make the baby conceive. Lady, you're fluctuating during your ovulation period. What the fuck you think is supposed to happen? Oh, I took a plan B and I still got pregnant because plan B doesn't work over women under over 155 pounds. They didn't tell you that shit, did you? Did they? No. But it wasn't on them to tell you. It was on you to find that shit out before you start using some shit, making a decision to use something. The decision to use relaxers and shit without understanding what lye did to the body is why women got fibroids now. That's a decision. But again, we don't have that. Like, so now the decision to constantly eat the same shit that's killing you and shit, it's like you made that decision. But then again, when you realize that you have given everything up to a deity, that decision is not yours. And you no longer think. Thinking is a powerful thing, but thinking starts to get reduced when you stop making decisions. When you're just picking options, you don't think about shit. Think about how autonomous your day really is from breakfast, from wake up to sleep. Think about how autonomous your day is and how many decisions you actually make. How many decisions you actually consciously think about making. You wake up, pull up to the drive-thru, go get your coffee or whatever the case may be, your food or whatever. So much so that you don't even think about your order. You just know that this is your order. You just know I'm gonna say blah, 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 blah. I'm not thinking about anything so much so you don't look at anything else on the menu because you know exactly what you want. You see what I'm saying? Because you know how to formulate the option. You just go through. You don't think about shit. How much shit on your regular daily basis is autonomous is not supposed to because you're not making the decisions. How many things are you into a situation where you have no control over because you can't make the decision? Every fucking day. You can't make decisions on your job. You have to pick the options. You have to execute the necessary option they told you to. You see what I'm saying? Tying it back to the food. This is why we only eat 3 types of animal. The fuck? Y'all never caught that shit? And why you think every other type? Because you never made the decision. Right? So much so that if you did make the decision, you would have known that, hey, we're not even supposed to be eating that shit. How the fuck did we come about eating this motherfucking shit anyway? You feel me? Because you give up your decision making. You give up your motherfucking decision making and you do it in the name of a deity, bro. I never forget the moment after I got in trouble and shit and I got heavy into the religion, I stopped thinking and I didn't realize that. I stopped thinking. I literally just started coasting through life and just praying and hoping for the best. And the decisions that I was making, it just so happened that I was, in tune with certain shit, but I was like a zombie. I was empty. I wasn't like, and it sucks because I know there's so many people like that. They want to admit it. I'm just comfortable enough admitting it because I've actually gone through the wherewithal to be able to stand on this shit. But some people aren't willing to admit that shit. That they are literally comfortably like they're confidently lost in this world and don't care. They do not care about their decisions. They do not care about the decisions that they're making. Because at the end of the day, it has to be according to a deity's will. So if it works out in my favor, then I know it's this deity. If it works against me, then I know it's not. As opposed to, I'm going to make every decision work for the best part of my life. Now, I get it. Every decision ain't going to be good. But when you start making good decisions, you eventually keep making good decisions. When you first learn how to play basketball and make that jump shot and shit, you don't make every shot. You feel me? You don't make every shot. Even when you do get good, you still don't make every shot, but you kind of know which shots are going to fall. You see what I'm saying? Because of the decision to do so. Damn. The will of our deity is our decision making, bro. Our decision making skills, yo. I don't think I could ever unsee it now. Because it's too aligned. Like every time somebody says their deity was present or the devil was busy, it was all a decision that they chose to make or they chose not to make or something that they, you know what I'm saying? Wow. And they'll never understand it because of how they perceive their deity and how nothing can move without their deity's permission, not realizing that their deity's permission, the deity gave them every bit of permission they needed when they conceived them and put them into this world. But they still asking. So that way they don't have to make the decision themselves. But I'm going to go in there. Go kiss your babies. Make sure they eat their vegetables. I don't know about y'all, but for me, I'm going to teach my kids early on how to make a solid decision, how to understand decisions, how to live with the consequences of decisions and the importance of it. And not just, you got to pray when this decision is done at third. No. Because that implies that they have no control over their life. That implies that they have no control over the life that's being created off the decisions they make every single day. That's scary. That's scary as fuck, bro. That's scary as fuck to know that we've been programming our babies like that for a long time. Generations on end, bro, we've been programmed to believe that we have no control of our decisions. Like nothing that we do is us. Like I remember when I graduated from college and shit. You feel me? In the time, I'm like, that won't nothing but God. That won't nothing but God. That won't nothing but God. Like I didn't do none of that. Nigga, I did. I went to class every day. I studied. I busted my ass. Well, I ain't studied because I'm being dramatic now. But I studied my senior year because I had to. But I went to class every day. I took my notes. You know what I'm saying? Did what I needed to do. I participated in my labs. I was, on camp. Like I did that. My decisions did that. And it's in those decisions that I realized that every blessing that came from my positive decisions, that's why, oh shit, that was God. And every fucked up situation, that was the devil. But then I realized it was all me. And the whole time it was all me, it was just my decisions and I had something to put it on. When I started to, what we got to do with our babies is make sure that they understand early the results of their decisions. Now, this is not to say, because we got to stop extinguishing our kids and beating the spirit out of them, because any decision that they make that we didn't quote unquote approve of, we whoop them for it. We beat them for it. We kill the spirit early. Instead of teaching them to understand how the consequences of their decisions. Everything doesn't have to be an immediate ass whooping.
You feel me? You don't get immediate ass whoopings. And I feel like if as adults we got ass whoopings like that, a lot of the shit we wouldn't do. Imagine not as an adult you have to live with consequences that don't manifest themselves for 5, 10 years now. We don't teach children that. We could. We could teach them that, hey, what you're doing right now is going to have a residual effect on what you didn't do last week. Now, this is how you can, you know what I'm saying? But it's like once we beat them, we start to teach them that, oh, physical reality, the physical punishment is the result of those consequences. When I get older and I'm no longer getting physical consequences no more, then what? Because you're not going to beat my ass forever. You're going to yell. And it's like, oh, shit. Ass whooping is when I cross the line. Bam. When you teach children that an ass whooping is when they cross the line at such a young age and they stop getting ass whoopings when they get older, they don't know that they cross the line. They also don't know that you're scared of them now, but they also don't know that they crossed the line because they always knew that when I crossed the line, I got a whooping. So we got to teach them how to have better decisions and not just that your decisions will always be reflective and the consequence of your decisions will always be responded to with a whooping. You feel me? We got to stop teaching our babies that, because then that makes them mentally and spiritually have fucked up decisions, because you can't get mental and spiritual whoopings. Not that easy anyway. So take our babies and sit with them and teach them the art and the science of decision making, which means you got to learn the shit first. Which means you also got to learn how to take accountability and responsibility, which means you had to stop putting shit on your deities all the time. Again, I'm not saying don't believe them. I'm saying understand them and understand the connection between your deity, free will, and your decision-making skills. It's all being the same. And why they want you to believe in a deity instead of embody the deity that you are. Break the cycle with our babies. So I'm going to go ahead and end it there. Go kiss your babies. Make sure they eat their vegetables. And I'm going to see y'all all on the next one. Peace, love, knowledge, and freedom. I'm out.